meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
So it is my honor and pleasure and a great fun to welcome Rabbi Rubinstein. And the topic of the day is Jewish life and Jewish laughter. And also it's the name of a book. Rabbi, welcome. How are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. How are you?
I am looking forward because especially at this time, fake news, difficult circumstances, but we need to overcome all of that with laughter. So how do we do that?
I don't know. I find it quite easy, really. I find that laughter is absolutely essential. I think I once mentioned to you, it was 2 years ago, I had the great privilege of lecturing in South Africa. There's a large audience of 2,000 people. I was on the stage, and somebody in his South African accent said to me, Rabba. Now, in South African, it's spelled rabbi, R-A-B-B-A, Rabba. Rabba, he said. Judaism doesn't seem to place too much emphasis on laughter, apart from Purim. Did you get that? Are you with me? Shall I translate? Right? Judaism doesn't seem to.
Of course we understand, of course.
So maybe people out there won't do it. I'm going to do it in America. Rabbi, Judaism doesn't seem to put too much emphasis on laughter, apart from Purim. I said, so really, what was the name of the first Jewish child? He said, Avram. I said, no, not Avram. He became Jewish. So the first Jewish child was, he said, Yitzchak. Yeah. I said, what does Yitzchak mean? Laughter. Right? It's so fundamental to who and what we are that if we don't have laughter, if we didn't have laughter, we wouldn't be here today 3,500 years later. The essential Jewish ingredient, so much so the first Jewish child was called laughter, is laughter. So how do we get it? I see it everywhere. And even in the most difficult circumstances. I mentioned in one of our previous conversations that Anatoly Sharansky, in his wonderful book, Fear No Evil, writes how when he was in the Lubyanka prison, being interrogated by the KGB, and always had to be 2 KGB officers, and he would make jokes to them about, was it Brezhnev was in charge in his time? I think it was Brezhnev, right? And they would trying not to laugh because they were scared of each other. And he said, look, you can't laugh because you're scared that he's going to inform you, and he's scared you're going to inform him. So which of us is really in prison? I mean, wow. I don't have to tell somebody who's a former Soviet Jew that laughter must have kept you all sane during the very difficult times.
I would even share a brief joke, if I may say. It was actually Hanukkah. It was 1979. I was a student at Moscow Telecommunication Institute, studying electronics, and I invited many people to come to my class, and it was actually Eliyahu Es's class. And some guys came like first, second, third time, just for really beginners. KGB came, and I was able to hide few people while they wanted to arrest and get the identification papers of others. So I put few people in a second room, some of my very close friends from college, where they were hiding behind the mirror. Many years later, these guys came to me, and I saw them with tzitzis and yarmulkes, like learning and learning Torah, and became very observant. And I said, what happened to you? And they said, we were hiding behind the mirror in the other room, and we heard the jokes that these religious Jews were making. One of the KGB officers was coming from one person to another, asking for identification name and papers. And the other one, jokingly said to him, comrade, you see, we have sandwiches. Usually we wash our hands. Maybe you want to join us and wash hands with us. So in the room, people started laughing. And the guys behind the mirror, they were not allowed to laugh because otherwise they will be revealing their presence and they would be arrested. But they were cracking from laughter. And that's made them think that even in this difficult time, when people were about to be arrested and, led to nowhere, they were still making jokes. And they came back to learn Torah.
Did you ever read Sharansky's account of when he was in solitary confinement at Hanukkah time?
Share with us.
Incredible story. So he'd been sent to Siberia, and he was in a concentration camp called Perm something or other. And he was in solitary confinement. Why was he in solitary confinement? Because it was coming to Hanukkah. He'd managed to get one of the other Zaks, one of the other prisoners.
Zak is заключенный. It's an abbreviation for prisoner.
One of the Zaks had made a wooden menorah, Hanukkah for him. Somehow he got some wax and some threads to make a wick, and he was going to have a Hanukkah in his cell. What happened was somebody informed on him. They opened the door, in come two KGB guys, they grab his Hanukkah, they grab everything, and they were walking out, and he said, "You can't take this." I mean, ridiculous. Well, you can't take this. He's in a KGB camp. What do you mean you can't take this? You tell the commandant from me that until I get my Hanukkah back, I'm on hunger strike. You want to be on hunger strike? These are Russian anti-Semites. B'ti avon, bon appetit. You couldn't care less. 3 days into the hunger strike, a strange thing happened. The USSR, as everybody knows, liked to sign up to all sorts of international conventions about how, like they've done recently, they got rid of chemical warfare, and they will, look after people's rights, that sort of thing. They'd signed up to some human rights thing, which meant that within 24 hours' notice, a camp can be visited by people from all over the world. And the commandant of this camp just gets warning that in 24 hours time, a delegation from Switzerland are arriving to inspect the camp. And his most famous prisoner, Anatoly Sharansky, is on hunger strike. So he knew at all costs, his job, his life is on the line. He has to get Sharansky off the hunger strike. So he sends for Sharansky. 2 guards come into the prison. Prisoner Sharansky, commandant wants to see you. Sharansky says, you tell the commandant if he wants to see me, he can come here. It's incredible. They grab him and they bring him in front of the commandant, stick him in a chair or in front of the chair, and they stand back. The commandant says, wait outside. And that was against the law. You're never allowed to be alone with the prisoner. So they go outside. So Sharansky already knows that something's up. So prisoner Sharansky, sit down. That also doesn't happen. He sits down. So this hunger strike you're on is ridiculous. It's stupid. You're going to damage your health. Now, Sharansky knows he couldn't care less, but he knows there's something really up now. What can I do to make you stop the hunger strike? So Sharansky says it's very simple. I want my Hanukkah back. Your Hanukkah, my Jewish candelabra, I want it back. And so he thinks to himself, I mean, it's obviously he's having to climb down. On the other hand, he might be in his own concentration camp and not as the commandant. So he says, I give you back Hanukkah, you stop hunger strike. Sharansky says, da. He goes up to his closet, his cupboard, he brings it, puts it down in front of him. Now you stop hunger strike, yes? Sharansky says, no. But I give you it back. I need my candles and my matches. No, that's different. I mean, wow. I mean, you could set fire to the camp. There's a phrase in England, in for a penny, in for a pound. He's already gone half the. I give you back the candles and the matches. Then he goes, brings back the little candles that were made, matches. Now you stop hunger strike. No. What do you mean no? I give it. This is the last night of Hanukkah. I have to light it, and I have to light it here now. Now the commandant doesn't like this. Oh, this is this Jewish thing. Ugh, what am I going to do with this guy? If I let you light it here, then you stop hunger? Yes. Okay, you can light it now. So no, one last thing. The guy's almost in tears. If you're going to be here when I light it, you're going to have to answer amen to my blessing. I have to make a blessing before I light the Hanukkah, and you're going to have to, okay. So he stands up, he puts on his hat. I actually saw a picture of this man, puts on his hat, he's standing to attention. Sharansky takes and makes the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem, Melekei melech haolam. And then he translates it into Russian. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe. The guy's standing there ready for his amen. Asher kishana b'mitzvah, who's sanctified us by his commandments. He's waiting for his amen. And he translated that into Russian. Who will destroy our enemies? And the guy said, amen. Unbelievable. I mean, chutzpah, humor in the darkest of places. And wow, look at where he is today. Unbelievable. So humor has kept the Jewish people alive all the way through our long, dark history. Laughter is a light.
So we used to say, actually, I remember in Russia, that we think that we are celebrating and laughing because we survived. On the contrary, we were able to survive because we were laughing, because we were smiling. So that is the art. And tell us about the book.
Well, the book, let me show you the book. The book, if you look at the cover, I designed the cover. I didn't do the drawing. And it's the life cycle of the Jew. So you start with the baby over there, and then you go to the toddler, and then you go to the little boy, and then somebody who's getting married, and then somebody, I like to think of them as my age, but maybe not. I'm thinking I'm getting a bit more to that. But you get the idea. It's the life cycle of a Jew, and it's all the things that you face in your Jewish life, but with laughter. So it's in various sections, various areas of your life. So in the contents page, life and laughter and family. The first thing you're going to meet is your family, and you have to have a sense of humor with your family, and your parents. The first challenge any of us meet is our parents. Pregnancy is the most exciting thing that ever happened to you in your life. When you realize you're going to be a mother or you're going to be a father, wow. But it doesn't mean you're perfect, right? If there's something wrong with you, you're a little bit selfish or a little bit insecure, you've got a temper, 9 months later, that's the father or the mother of that child. So the first challenge we all meet is our parents, and then our siblings and grandparents, that's okay. So the whole chapter on you and your family. And then laughter and the world of Torah. Why the Torah demands we are happy and laugh. Laughter in relationships, shidduchim, meeting the boy or the girl that you're going to settle down and marry with. And then your married life. Life and laughter overcoming challenges, just like the one we're talking about. We all find life sometimes difficult. How laughter, Jewish laughter, helps you to turn the difficult times into the tragedies into triumphs. Laughter and Kiddush Hashem, well, that's good. And laughter and getting older and the challenges of getting older. So that's the cycle of a Jew, a Jewish life for a man and for a woman. And they're real, so it's real issues. I talk about real issues, but I tell real stories that happened to me in all of these areas and how laughter got me through it. Incidentally, just like I mentioned before, I was just doing that Zoom class, which I managed to cut off twice. If you've got a sense of humor, it can save you from very, very embarrassing situations. Or when you face embarrassing situations, if you can laugh about them, it makes all the difference. I'll tell you a story. I had once had, he was a Talmud of mine. I used to lecture at Oxford and Cambridge universities in England. And I went there, and it was very interesting because this guy became close to me. He was becoming more religious, and he was involved with a young lady who was also making the same journey in life, became more religious. And unfortunately, the mother, who was very unhappy with this decision, decided that she was going to commit suicide if she married this boy. Anyway, somehow they got engaged. He was going to get married. And I'll tell you when this happened, actually. What year did the USSR collapse?
1992.
In 1992. he was going to get married. He wanted me to go to the wedding and to speak at the wedding. I went down, my late wife and I went down to London. And when I got there, remember I told you the mother wasn't happy? Not one member of the girl's family came to her wedding. Not her mother, not her father, not her grandparents, nobody. After we married the girl underneath the chuppah, then we went into the reception. People are standing with glasses and drinking chaims, and a big fellow came over to me, put his arm around my shoulder, he said, Rabbi, in a London accent, Rabbi. He said, can I speak to you? I said, yeah. So it turned out that this was an uncle of the boy. And he said, look, you know the situation here tonight? Said, yeah. The situation's very difficult. Yeah. And you're speaking. Yeah. When you speak, make it all right. No pressure. No pressure. Anyway. So I was the only speaker. In England, there are speakers at weddings. There was somebody who came out, a friend of the groom's, to propose a toast to the grooms. They all drank a toast to the groom, a toast to the bride, a toast to the President of the State of Israel, and a toast to Her Majesty the Queen of England. And after that was me. And I couldn't think of a good story to bring what I wanted to say to life. And then just at the last minute, Hashem helped me. So I went up to the top table. There was a long rectangular table, the bride and the groom, his parents, his grandparents, just his side of the family, nobody from her side. And I davened very hard to Hashem to help me. I spoke. And just like the uncle asked me to do, I made it all right. When I finished speaking, everybody was crying. The whole table was crying, but there were tears of happiness. I raised my glass and said, ladies and gentlemen, raise your glasses. The toast is Chatan v'Kala. And everybody stood up. I started to walk back to my table. And the Chatan leapt up and he grabbed me, he pulled me across the table and gave me a big hug. And then he let go. And I was like a spring, under pressure. So I went back. And as I turned around, I felt my leg brush against something. Now let me paint the picture for you here. This is my keyboard. Right? Imagine that's the table with all the family there. In front of that table, there was a small square table. Like that. And it was this small square table that when you let go, my leg brushed against. Now that table was there for a purpose. Because on that table had stood, please notice I'm using the past tense, had stood the wedding cake. On 4 levels. And I took one more step and there was a funny noise. Boom. And I looked round and there was this work of art, cost thousands of dollars on the floor. It looked like, and there was a wave of laughter. And I went, oh. And then other people who hadn't seen it, look at it. And they're laughing. There was 3 distinct waves of laughter. I got back to the rabbi's table. It was a rabbi's table, rabbis and rebbitzins. The rebbitzin of the synagogue said to me with the sort of concern you would expect from a rebbitzin, she said to me, tell me, have you ever done anything quite as stupid as that in your life before? And that was that. The Chatan v'Kala went back to Gateshead, or went to Gateshead where he went to learn in Yeshiva. And he phoned me up 3 months later and he said, they'd like to come and spend Shabbat with us. I said, lovely. He said, can you get hold of a TV and a video machine? I said, I suppose so. He said, good. We'll bring you the video of the wedding. I don't want to see the video. But you know what? First of all, it's a funny story. Second of all, that funny story, that made their wedding. It sounds crazy, but that atmosphere of, oh, this is terrible. There was something worse. The Scottish rabbi making a complete fool of himself and knocking down the wedding cake. I was quite happy to do it, and it's a funny story. And because I see it as a funny story, it's not embarrassing anymore. And you see the funny side of it. And you know what? It diverted everybody away from the unpleasant atmosphere of the missing half of a family. And a wedding, which should have been a disaster, was a huge success.
Wow, but that's because people were laughing, saying no one got upset.
No.
So, and that they got perception as a reality. They perceived it as a joke.
Absolutely.
And they thank you for that.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing. And of course, it took me about a year to go over it. But but when I turned it into a story that I say in my shiurim, it's one of my best stories. I gave you the short version.
So in other words, life is full of unexpected situations and events. But a question I wanted to ask you, do you think that the sense of humor is something that you're born with? And what if people don't know how to make a joke, or people don't know even how to laugh about the situations, or sometimes about themselves, and they take everything so seriously and they make drama out of everything, and you're telling them, you know what, just learn how to laugh at life, with life. What would you tell them?
I think there are two things there. I think people are born with a sense of humor. One of the things I do is I teach people public speaking. Sometimes it's rabbis, sometimes it's teachers, sometimes it's professionals. And I say to them, you must, when you're speaking, play to your strengths. And I give an example that if you're a scientist, then talk about science. Talk about mathematics. I'm not strong in these skills at all, so I avoid them. And if you have a sense of humor, then when you're speaking, then by all means use it. But if you don't have a sense of humor, don't try and make a joke that's going to be a disaster. Well, that's humor for public consumption for other people. But you certainly have to learn to laugh at yourself. We all need to learn to laugh at ourselves. That's very therapeutic. And also, and to see the funny side. The funny side of your mistakes, just like I said before, knocking down the cake. And the funny side of the fact that we sometimes get it wrong. Everybody does. And not to take yourself too seriously. I'll tell you an interesting story. In Gateshead Yeshiva, I'm wondering if I can, I can tell you who this is. In Gateshead Yeshiva, I had a chavrusa who is one of my lifelong friends, Sephardi rabbi. It's called Rabbi Ronnie Chassid. He's now the chief rabbi of Gibraltar, which is one of my very favorite communities in the world. And Ronnie had been learning in Gateshead a long time before me. And he was feeling the need to move on to a different yeshiva, and eventually went to Eretz Yisrael. But he went to discuss his situation and his feelings with the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Leib Lapien. Rabbi Leib Lapien was the son-in-law of Rabbi Elia Lapien, who was a very holy man. And Rabbi Leib listened to his concerns and his dissatisfaction, and he had one question for him. You know what the question was? Tell me, you're not too serious when you learn, are you? You're not too serious when you learn. Torah is meant to be enjoyable. I heard Ramatasiel say this many, many times. When we take the Sefer Torah out and we learn from it and we read from it, then we close it up and go back. And this phrase we say is Darcheho, Darche Noam. The ways of the Torah are pleasant. And if you've just read from it and you don't feel that, stop. Take it out and read it again. You've missed the point. That Torah is enjoyable. And learning Torah is enjoyable. I have known many very major Rabbanim. Gedolim, Reb Leib Lapien, Reb Leib Gurbitz from Gateshead. The Gateshead Rav, my Rav Rabbi Rakov. Sephardi giants, Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, and Hasidic giants, friendly with. Every single one has a sense of humor. Because they're giants as Jews. So naturally they have a sense of humor. Because a sense of humor is so natural to Jews. So you would expect the best Jews, the highest Jews, to have a really good sense of humor. And I've never come across, even if I can use the word Yekis, German Jews, have a sense of humor. So I would say it's something to know about yourself, to be able to laugh at yourself. You might not be able to stand up in front of an audience of 2,000 people like Rabbi Dov Orlovsky and have them falling off their seats with laughter. So don't try. But certainly try to be able to laugh at yourself and your mistakes. Don't beat yourself up. Learn to laugh at yourself. It's very healthy.
How would you explain us the laughter of Rabbi Akiva when everybody saw the stones of the destroyed temple, the holiest of the holiest, the Kodesh Kadoshim, and they were crying. He was laughing. Why are you laughing and why are you crying? So we see what we see, and he saw something beyond. So what is your interpretation of his laughter?
It's funny. There's a very famous lahavdil, as they say, very famous English comedian who most people know as somebody called Mr. Bean. It's called Rowan Atkinson. And Rowan Atkinson, he is, if I remember rightly, a Cambridge University graduate. He's got a master's in this either chemical or electrical engineering. And you should know, by the way, that in my long career broadcasting with the BBC, in fact, since I last spoke to you, they just wrote to me and they want me to write another 4 scripts and broadcast another 4 times for them. But I have been on TV with very, very, in radio, very funny people, extremely funny people. Most people, if I mention their names, won't recognize them in America, but if you've heard of Monty Python's Flying Circus, you will have heard of John Cleese. I did a program with John Cleese and other very famous people. I was many years with probably one of the funniest people in BBC Radio. I was a regular on his program. And this very funny person, all of them are extremely intelligent. Right? Extremely intelligent. They know how to analyze and look at situations and see the funny side. Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, lectures on humor and what it is that makes us laugh. And he talks about slapstick when people fall on a banana skin. And he talks about when something's incongruous, it doesn't look right, and that makes you laugh. But he says the thing that normally makes us laugh is the unexpected. It's the unexpected. And you know what? What's the part of the joke that we laugh at? It's called the punchline. And like a punch, you don't see it coming. It just comes out and suddenly it hits you. It's the unexpected that makes us laugh. And Rabbi Kiva, he laughed because they just saw what they saw, as you said, but he saw something different. He saw that Yad Hashem, and he saw the promise that there would be, the prediction of the Nevi'im, that there would be an end of that Beis HaMikdash, but they also made a promise that there'd be a new Beis HaMikdash. And they went, now I get it. And it's when you get it, there's nothing worse than not getting a joke.
But it's also was moving from, in music, from minor to major, from sadness to joy. Oh, everybody sees only with, you can see this rocks, you can see destruction, but he saw the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's an ability of faith. So faith and laughter somehow connected. You see the unexpected. Maybe it's unexpected for everybody, but he suddenly sees the light coming.
Well, that's funny you should say that, because of course the greatest example of laughter is the Gemara in Tainus. And the Gemara in Tainus talks about somebody called Rabbi Broika, who would go to the marketplace, which is a Jewish marketplace in a place called Beit Lefet. And when he was in Beit Lefet, he would bump into Eliyahu Hanavi. So one day he said to him, is there anybody here going to heaven? So he pointed to one fellow who had saved lots of Jewish lives. Oh, that makes sense. Then he points to 2 other guys. So Rabbi Broika goes up and says, what do you do? He says, Ono, Baduchi Ono. We are comedians. Now, people get very excited at that. They say, oh, look at that. Judaism is so cool. If you tell jokes, you get to go to heaven. No, it doesn't say that. It says, straight after that, I can't remember the exact language. We find people who are at CV, we find people who are depressed, and we make them laugh again. What do they do to make them laugh? This is incredibly interesting. One of my favorite commentators is the Ben Ish Chai. And the Ben Ish Chai says that Hashem's name, listen to this, Hashem's name is, we all know, Yud, He, Vav, He, 4 letters, which we pronounce as Adonai, my master. And we, in the Kabbalistic books, say that Hashem created the world from the 4 elements, fire and water, earth and air. And each one parallels one of the names of Hashem. The first letter of the first Yud, Yud, He, Vav, He, first He rather, the first He stands for Eish, Ha'esh. And it's the nature of flame to go up to heaven. The last He stands for Ha'aretz. It's the way of this place to pull you down. Gravity pulls you down. What they did was to allow these people, whatever their situation was, they didn't change the situation. Maybe somebody had lost his health, maybe his wife had died, maybe he had lost all his money. They didn't change the situation. They changed how they looked at it. From that perspective, the hay that pulls you down, to that hay from Shemayim that makes you look up. And you see it, and then you get it, the unexpected, and then you start to laugh again. Fantastic.
How to do that? What is secret? How to learn this amazing art of seeing it from a different perspective and actually rejoice or laugh at something.
That's in the book. I mean, I tell lots of stories about that. Look, when I was my kids were young, hide and seek was one of my kids' favorite games. How you do this is like this. Your child was 3 or 4. And then you say to him, okay, right, David, or Ellie, or whatever the child's called, Daddy's going to hide. Daddy's going to count to 10 and you hide. I'll count very slowly and you hide. So the daddy goes to the wall and covers his eyes and counts very slowly. And the little boy runs and hides behind the couch, right? And the father says, 10, where is Ellie, says the father. Well, Ellie's 2 feet are sticking out from behind the couch and he's laughing his head off. Where can he be, says Daddy, pretending he can't hear. Maybe he's behind the chair. Brum, brum, brum. He looks behind the chair. No Ellie. Maybe he's behind the curtains. No Ellie. More laughter from behind the couch. And now Ellie's feet and legs are jumping out, and he's moving them up and down. Maybe he's in the closet. Daddy goes to the clothes closet, opens the... No, he's not. Maybe he's behind the couch. And he finds Ellie. Wow! Now the roles reverse. Now Ellie's got to count very slowly to 10. And Daddy's going to hide. Daddies are better at hiding than 4-year-old boys. So Daddy goes into the closet, and not only does he hide in the closet, he hides behind the clothes in the closet. Ellie counts very slowly to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. He can't find Daddy. Where does he look first? Rabbi cuts in. Where does he look first? Behind the couch. So he looks behind the couch. No Daddy. The curtains. He looks behind the curtains. No Daddy. The chair. Still no Daddy. The closet. Ellie goes to the closet, opens the closet, but no Daddy, because Daddy's behind. So what does he do? Starts to cry. What does the Daddy do? The Daddy finds that he's about to be overtaken by the loudest sneeze or cough that anybody has ever made. Right? And Ellie's found Daddy, right? The thing is, you've got to look to find the Daddy. And the Hebrew word for world is olam, ayin, vav, lamed, mem. 4 letters. One of them has to go to get to the root of the word, because Hebrew words have got 3 letters. We throw away the vav. The root is ayin, lamed, mem, which means hide or hidden. This world is where Hashem hides to give you the opportunity to find him. You get to choose. And then when you find him, hey, you start to laugh. But you got to look. So how do you learn to do this stuff? As I write in the book here, you learn to look. You learn to look and see. How many times does God crack a joke and let you see him? We say it in our davening and on the Amidah, but al nisecha should be called Yom Ha'emona. A nes is the Hebrew word for miracle, but it's also a flag. It's a I'm here. You wave a flag, right? They're the British, and here's the Americans, right? You know which side you're on. Hashem waves the flag to let you know he's there 3 times a day. You just got to look to find him. And then you laugh. So there's a spiritual thing. Shall I read to you a bit of the book? Chapter called Big Children, Big Problems. Perhaps the scariest and most ominous phrase in the Talmud is tsar gidol bonim, the pain of raising children. Pain? What pain? They come into the world and into our lives as the most beautiful things we have ever beheld. Months pass, and these fragile and vulnerable little creatures become the center around which life joyously revolves. They eat their first solid meal, usually a mashed banana, most of which they squish into their hair, and we are in raptures, sending pictures to everyone we know. Pain? What pain? They start to walk, and we burst with pride. They say, Mommy, or Daddy, or Mama, Papa, Zadie or Bobby, and tears fill our eyes as little prayers of thanks are offered up to heaven for this most special of blessings. They grow, and we choose them the best school we can. The big adventure called life is theirs to discover, and we get to be their guide. Pain? What pain? A few years pass. A 13-year-old boy approaches the Sefer Torah to read his parsha with trepidation, and the mummy, the daddy, the Zadis, the bobbies, the grandparents, and everyone else you sent the banana picture to all those years ago are tense and nervous as he begins. 7 aliyahs and a haftarah later, and the mood reverts to bursting with pride mode. The bar mitzvah boy looks at the tear-filled eyes of his mother and father and smiles a happy and contented smile. He justified all their hopes, and he is as proud to belong to the family as they are proud of him and his achievement. And then, just a few short months later, a strange metamorphosis occurs. The falsetto voice that read the parsha has been replaced by a baritone, whose most common phrase is, whatever. And the simplest request is met by an automatic shoulders rising and eyeballs rolling and tisking in response. A short few months before, you were so proud of him, and he was so proud to be part of his family. A few months later, and he views you as something from the Jurassic era, and you have started to regard him as a fully paid up member of ISIS. Teenagers, that pain. The boys are angry, conflicted, confused, bored, and belligerent. And then there are the teenage girls. They are more or less the same as the boys, only they tend to bring much more finesse and sophistication to the process of driving their parents to pulling their hair out, one hair followed by another and another. Once my wife and I went into a well-known department store as I needed a new jacket. My wife spotted a stunning dress that we thought would be perfect for our teenage daughter. Now, when I say teenage, she was just 13, but if you've got one of those, you will know that 13 is definitely enough to qualify as a fully fledged teenager, at least as far as driving parents to uncontrollable sobbing is concerned. We saw the dress and it cost a large amount of money, but we knew she would look great in it. And so, ignoring the fact that this would provoke my credit card company to even greater levels of dislike of me, we bought it. Picture the scene. Daughter comes home from school and comes into the lounge. I stand there grinning and produce the bag containing the dress from behind my back. My wife beams confidently, and my daughter takes the bag and examines the contents. I'm still grinning like a toothpaste advertisement, and long seconds pass without my daughter's face bursting into happiness and joy. She didn't like the dress. Why I was disappointed or surprised, I don't know. My niece's daughter once asked the sales assistant, "Is it all right if I bring this back if my mother likes this?" I should have known. The technique should have been to get someone else, like an uncle or an aunt, to buy the dress and then give it to my daughter. When she showed it to us, we would then frown and make faces like somebody chewing a lemon. This would, of course, make our daughter fall passionately in love with the same dress and refuse to take it off ever. So if you've got any teenagers, you will recognize that. So true stories. And then I get a bit serious and tell you what the Torah says about dealing with your teenage kids.
Unbelievable. So what does Torah say?
Get advice. The worst, look, there are certain times, look, that's the general rule for succeeding as a Jew is get yourself a rabbi, or if you're a woman, a rebbitzin. But the closer you are to somebody, the more unable you are to see them because you love them too much. Sometimes the worst possible person to deal with your children is you. You're too close to them, they're too close to you. And maybe there's too much history there. That's when you really need to turn to somebody who gets you and gets the situation, who's able to advise you how to do what you would probably not naturally do because maybe you're too hurt or too angry because they gave you chutzpah or they did something which is really terrible. Somebody's able to stand back, not as emotionally involved as you are, and give you the advice that's going to make sure that the relationship is healed.
Thank you. If I understood you correctly from everything I heard so far, is that Jewish life or the secret of success of your life is actually Jewish laughter, yes. Which is look at the world with a smile, search the hidden or for the hidden, try to reveal it, anticipate something great to happen, right? We're all anticipating for Mashiach, so anticipate for good news. and smile and laugh at the world situations and the situations of your life. And probably the most difficult sometimes is laughing with yourself or at yourself.
Yes.
Not being depressed, not being down, but just looking like from a different perspective, and smiling and laughing instead of being crying.
Yes. That's right. But this is an important thing. As I said before, don't try and do this on your own. Any skill that you've ever mastered in your life, whether you played the violin, or if I remember rightly, the piano. I think you played the piano, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes.
So whether you learned to play the piano. See, I play the guitar, right? Look, see over there. Ooh.
Wow, what beautiful. Yes, yeah, we do. Yes. You want to play us? You want to play? No, not okay. Okay.
No, not during the 3 weeks. We'll do it another time.
Exactly.
And I've got my Fender Stratocaster over here.
Wow.
Look at that. Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
wow. This is a real stuff.
Scottish.
That is a real stuff.
I can't play it for you because of the 3 weeks, but never mind.
We're gonna do it. We are anticipating it for the future.
Looking forward.
So it is really so beautiful. Yes.
I play it very badly. Do you know why? I taught myself. I don't hold it properly. You're supposed to. Oh, okay. At least I can show you. That bit there, it's actually in this guitar, there's a line there in the wood. That's where you're supposed to have your thumb. And that means that you can move your hands and really cover the key. You can always see somebody who taught themselves, they hold it like that. Your thumb there, wrong. You can see somebody who taught themselves to play the keyboard. Were you taught classically to play? Of course. Oh, you know exactly what I'm going to say. And people who taught themselves hold their hands like that. But it should be like that. The same reason, that's for the guitar. In anything you've ever done well in your life, whether it's mathematics, or whether it's swimming, or whether it's skiing, or whether it's playing a musical instrument, you did it well if you had a good teacher. Because they will tell you, and you say, well, what difference does it make? It's more comfortable to hold the guitar that way. And they will explain to you, no. Before you get into a bad habit that you can't change, then you know what? It's because you'll get bigger area to cover with your fingers that way. Oh, and then you'll learn the right thing. In life, you need to know, the most important project in your life, is your life. And if you need somebody to succeed in a part of your life, you need somebody to teach you how to succeed in a part of your life, the guitar, the piano, mathematics, you need somebody to teach you how to succeed in all of your life, and how to laugh at yourself, and how to see the funny side. Or you can buy a book.
Well, it should be the first step. And Rabbi, so will you please tell us your email address? If I want to get the book, how can I do it?
If you email me, there's a special discount for people who are, just say the word Rabbi Katzin, $5 discount. That's my email address, yy@rabbiyyy.com.
YY@rabbiyyy.com. What a wonderful, amazing, and simple email. So anybody wants to learn the skill of laughing at life and with life and be successful, that beautiful, wonderful book. We really love it so much. Thank you so much. It was unbelievably empowering and so important in our life. So fake news and bad news when we really need good news. And how do we see good news? By producing them, because perception is reality. We need to perceive news in a new and laughing way with Rabbi YY. We're looking forward for many more amazing discussions. And I believe that this coming Sunday.
Yes.
At what time? At 12 o'clock, am I right?
12 o'clock, same as last
week. At 12 o'clock,
we're
going to be talking about, please, Rabbi, tell us.
This book here is called On the Derech. Derech means road, the Jewish road. Answers to questions that challenge Jewish minds, the big questions. Why do very bad things happen to very good people?
That will be the question this time?
That will be the question this time. That's what we're going to do this time. There are 21 big questions, real questions, with 21 answers. And this time we're going to do why do very bad things happen to very good people.
So which is one of the most pressing and difficult questions that many people think it's impossible to have an answer. So if you think it's impossible, just come with us on 12 o'clock this coming Sunday to discover the truth. I want to thank you, Rabbi, and looking forward to read more of your books. And it was an unbelievable program. Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you. We should share joyful and laughing occasions together with all our students. And we really would love to have more weddings. And you will be master of ceremony, and I will even joke or laugh together with you at the cake. We'll remember the cake.
I'll play the guitar.
Exactly. Thank you so much. All the best to you.
God bless. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.